What is up, guys? Frosty Osty 0232 here for another Frosty Features. This time we have coming up to Marvel Strike Force is the new tune for the Death Seed team joining Archangel, Magneto, and Psylocke. We have Dark Beast. For those of you who haven't seen a Frosty Features, what this is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force. Right, so typically I stick to 616 canon. In Dark Beast's situation, he is from Earth 295. So we'll be talking about that and his events, some of his events in Earth 616. It's kind of all over the place, but it's cool. So yeah, let us get started. Dark Beast. Name, Henry McCoy, Earth 295. Earth 295 is your Age of Apocalypse dimension. It is one of the most popular alternate Earths in the Marvel canon. First appearance for Dark Beast is an X-Men Alpha #1. Powers and abilities: superhuman claws and fangs, and cybernetic enhancement. Superhuman meaning having the generic super strength, super reflexes, super senses. Very common attributes to characters in the Marvel universe is that they are simply superhuman. Beast falls in there. Claws and fangs. He can cut through flesh, bone, wood, and stone with his claws and fangs. That is the same thing. As you have Earth 616, regular Hank McCoy that we all love, Henry Hank McCoy, this Earth 295 counterpart, he's the same, except he's a geneticist that loves to experiment on himself, so he gives himself a genetic enhancements that regular Beast doesn't. So even though they fight and Dark Beast wins sometimes and Beast wins sometimes, etc., Dark Beast actually has more powers than regular Beast. So with cybernetic enhancements, he's got metamorphosis. He can actually alter his body's shape. If he loses limbs and things like that, he can grow them back immediately. He has energy projection, so like creating beams of energy he can attack people with. He has cannons installed in his arms, which is pretty cool. And electrokinesis, he can create static fields around his body and shock people, which is pretty cool. And the other Beast can't do that. So a very important distinction between Beast and Dark Beast. Dark Beast has a little bit more legit of a setup. Aliases: Black Beast, Alter Beast, Butcher Beast, and as far as we're going to talk about a Morlock storyline that we talked in Frosty Features Archangel. In that Morlock storyline, he's known, I believe, as the one before, or the original one. That's another alias that kind of comes up a couple of times in the comics from the Morlocks. Affiliations: Clan Akaba, which, sorry about that pronunciation. That is a clan of Apocalypse and his like descendants and more or less like culty followers. And he actually works with Hammer for a time. Hammer eventually actually kind of takes over S.H.I.E.L.D. and remakes a lot of the government-sponsored teams, including the Avengers and X-Men and things like that. And Dark Beast helps them out. So yeah. Who died? Charles Xavier. Earth 295 is created by, in Earth 616. For those of you who know or don't know, the way Age of Apocalypse kicks off, in, Charles Xavier, Professor X, the brilliant, he has a son. His son is named Legion. Legion is an extraordinarily powerful mutant, and Legion at one point kind of makes the decision that, hey, I can solve all of the world's problems if I go back to the 60s where Professor X, my dad, and Magneto are working together they're working together, but they hit that point where they divide, and if I kill Magneto, Xavier will have nothing stopping him from kind of making that peaceful mutant existence coexist with humans. And Legion goes back, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, Magneto. And Magneto's like, no, don't do it. And then Legion's like, nah, I'm gonna do it. And he goes to kill him, and then Xavier's like, nah, bro. And he jumps in front of him, and Xavier dies. So it's the same universe as 616 up until that point, and then when Charles Xavier dies, Magneto it kind of pushes on to be the head of the X-Men. The battle that ensued was strong enough to wake up Apocalypse, and so that's when Apocalypse kind of comes out of his slumber and decides to take over the world, and there you get Age of Apocalypse. So there's alternate realities, and the 616 more or less dissolves, and they have to bring it back, etc., etc. Lots and lots of stuff. Namely, we're talking about Dark Beast, but Dark Beast exists because of the death of Charles Xavier, so I wanted to give you that background. Sorry about that. We can hit on Age of Apocalypse in a different video if we want. But that's just a really, really general way that worked. So, backgrounds. There's no Professor X, so there's no one to guide Beast in Beast direction. Beast is known as a gentle kind of, he will fight and he's very strong, but namely he's very mild tempered, he's gentle, whatever. But without Professor X, he has no morals, he has no one to guide him, he's real twisted, and he earns his name of Beast, right? So he's a geneticist, and he is known for kidnapping different mutants, stealing people, whatever, and experimenting on them and augmenting them. So very similar to Apocalypse's use of the Death Seed to make them stronger. Dark Beast alters genetics, also exactly the same as Mr. Sinister. He alters genetics of people to try to make them into stronger people. In this, he creates the Infinite Soldiers, which are like kind of mutant-based super sentinel types that are Apocalypse's army in the Earth 295 universe. There's a lot, y'all. Taking prisoners, not keeping them. A very common trope for Dark Beast is that he kidnaps people and then, to experiment on them, but they pretty much always escape on their own. Sometimes people show up and free them, but for the most part, he kidnaps people and they get out of it. Which is pretty funny because he does have a pretty good power set, especially, like I said, compared to regular Beast. But very, very common thing is for him to catch people, and then I guess he turns his back and they get out, and he probably just needs to use better handcuffs or something. M-Day immunity. One thing I found extraordinarily interesting about Dark Beast, M-Day, which is it's a big nexus point in the Marvel Universe, is when Scarlet Witch famously said no more mutants, and then almost every single mutant died. They disappeared. Mutants no longer existed because of Scarlet Witch. She's that powerful. Yes, that's a thing. But there were a few, because I believe the amount of mutants that survived was something around like 2% or something like that, but it was insane, just massive wipeout. But Dark Beast is one of the mutants that actually made it through M-Day without being affected, without being wiped out, which I just thought was really interesting because there's very few mutants that actually were able to pull that off. Moving on, relationships. Norton and Edna McCoy, parents just like Hank McCoy in 616. Mr. Sinister, I talked about how they do the same thing. Mr. Sinister is actually Dark Beast's mentor. Dark Beast is the second best geneticist in his universe, next to only Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, first off, the Age of Apocalypse Sinister is a little bit different than our regular 616. He's a little more body 90s cool man looking, and also he's just even a little bit more twisted, he uses essentially whatever he doesn't have his attention on, he kind of throws it to Beast, and has Beast experiment on people. Very they are more or less like close, and they come into contact with each other quite often, so that's the thing. Notable events for Dark Beast. End of the Age of Apocalypse. Okay, so check this out. The Age of Apocalypse kind of comes around, and they are so. Okay, so I'm trying not to like tell the whole story of the Age of Apocalypse, but ultimately the X-Men go from 616. They some of them are able to go, and they end up in the Earth 295, whatever, all comes back to the Macron crystal. It's a crystal that contains, information within the universe, etc. Check out Frosty Feature Spider-Man Noir. We talk about the Macron crystal in depth. But in this situation, there's more or less kind of a battle over the Macron crystal, and Dark Beast recognizes that things are going pretty south for his side, and it's looking like his universe is going to be destroyed. Essentially, if 295 existed at that time, 616 couldn't, so they're trying to bring order back since 295 is like evil and awful. So Dark Beast is like, yo, this is looking pretty negative. I'm gonna go ahead and hop out of here. So while they're kind of all around the Macron crystal or whatever, he teleports himself into the middle of it so that he can go. He's trying to essentially just escape the dimension, and in doing so, there was a little bit of interference, and he disappeared, and we didn't know where he went for a very long time. And then he ends up appearing in the Earth 616, where he really tries to keep kind of a low profile. He has partial amnesia, and so as I referenced earlier, Frosty to watch Frosty Features Archangel. I'm doing a lot of plugs for myself, but we already talked about a lot of these stories in previous Frosty Features, which is inevitable at a point. So there's a situation where the Morlocks, which are a society of mutants that live below, they live in the sewers. There's a situation where the Marauders go and kill all the Morlocks. The reason being is that Dark Beast goes down into the sewers, and he's experimenting on the mutants that are down there, and he's putting out some really nasty dudes up top. So the Marauders are sent to go locate why that's happening and exterminate all of the anything in the way, and therefore the Marauders are like, that means everybody that's down here, we're gonna kill them all. That's how Angel loses his wings and eventually becomes Archangel. Yay! We did it. So after that, we find that because Dark Beast can alter his form and stuff like that, he ends up capturing regular 616 Beast. He builds like a brick box, and he keeps Beast in there, and he joins the X-Men impersonating Beast and doing that whole thing. And the reason why he wants to do that, sorry, I had to check my notes. The reason why he wants to do that, Bishop he finds out that the 295 and 616 Bishop share memory, so he wants to get close to Bishop to see what's up with that, and he wants to keep Sinister from finding out that Bishop has that, so, recreating timelines or doing the same thing. But eventually he gets approached a lot to be in these different teams, and he pretty much is like, yeah, I'm not going to do that, over and over and over. And then finally he's like, okay, well, I'm going to make a team. So he gets Mystique. He reveals himself to them. He's like, hey, I'm not the real Beast. I'm the fake Beast. Here's the real Beast. Check it out. I captured him. I've got him. I'm so cool. Y'all can kill him if you want and be on my team. And then Mystique and Sabretooth's like, nah, Hank's pretty cool. You're pretty screwed, dude. So then they release Beast, and Beast fights Dark Beast again, and Beast beats him. And then this version of Beast gets arrested and goes to prison. And that's the end for a while of his 616 run. But it kind of pops back up a little bit later. Also, I realized I missed a little something about that's sort of pertinent to Age of Apocalypse. So just in between the notable events, another thing with Age of Apocalypse, Dark Beast does experiments on Corsair. Corsair is Scott Summers and Alex Summers' dad, so Havoc and Cyclops. It's their father, which is a big. Dark Beast was blue until he started doing these experiments on Corsair, and when he does these experiments on Corsair, he starts doing as he's learning things about the Summers DNA, which Mr. Sinister's all crazy into and thinking about all the time or whatever. Frosty features Madeline Pryor. I talk about it. But with that, he starts experimenting on himself, and he gains this reputation of being so beastly. That's why they call him the Beast. And in those experiments, his fur turns gray. So his default is gray, whereas our regular 616 counterpart is blue. I forgot to say that earlier. Thought it was really cool, really important to know. Boom skis, absolutely. Next, his death. So famously has died twice. So first time, he dies actually in a parallel to his 616 counterpart, experimenting on himself. In Dark Beast's case, experimenting on himself to enhance himself. In regular Beast case, typically he's trying to cure different viruses, and both of them die from those experiments. In his second round of dying, he's revived by unknown means even to this day. It wasn't that long ago. It was just following Secret Empire. So we just find out that he was revived. Nobody knows how. He's very quickly captured by the X-Men and more or less forced to kind of slave work, but forced to act as their geneticist as a scientist, because there's a lot of viruses and disorders. So he is forced to kind of work on those disorders or whatever, and they find out through time that while he's trying to cure things for him and whatever, he's still while he's working for the X-Men, he's still kidnapping people and experimenting on them. And all the rest of the X-Men are like, dude, what the heck? And Magic, our wonderful Magic that's in Marvel Strike Force, Liliana, she finds that out and she's like, yeah, I'm done with you. And Magic doesn't play that crap. And she just decapitates him with a portal. Just goes ahead and kills him. So that second time he died, there's the thing right there. She just had enough of his crap and straight up just cuts his head off. So I really just wanted to point it out because I like Magic and I like how brutal she can be. And this dude deserved it anyway. He's very, very dark, grotesque, messed up guy. All right, power level. So in the Marvel universe, we have different power levels. They're very important in Marvel Strike Force. We really don't look at power levels, but I like to, so here we are. A multiversal power level is a being that can end reality as you know it and everybody else knows it. They can end their dimension, universe, whatever, and all the other ones at the same time. This is an extremely rare power level in the Marvel universe, but it does exist. Universal, you can end your universe or dimension and then maybe move over to another one and end that one and kind of do that over and over and over. Cosmic, you are a threat on a planetary scale. You can destroy things at a planetary level with enough effort, going around to different solar systems or universe maybe and being able to destroy them. Nuclear, you have power equivalent to that of a nuclear bomb. You can destroy small cities, and once again, with enough effort, you could take out a planet. Super Soldier, being enhanced strength, more strength that can be possibly attained by a regular human being, reflexes, etc. You could probably take out a brick wall, or level a city block with enough effort. Once again, City is going to be a highly trained human being. Somebody like a Frank Castle, maybe a Misty Knight. Maybe being able to break bricks, but the wall's a tough one. And then finally, we have Greg. Greg's recently got a rework, but for the sake of argument, we're putting Greg at a regular human being level. Greg is the undead Asgardian that is summoned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force, who at one point was much weaker than he is now, but still, for the sake of argument, we're calling him good old human level. And if I had a water bottle with a hole popped in the top and a lot of anger and effort, I could theoretically take out Greg. So, in the case of Dark Beast, we're going to see that he is on the absolute highest end of Super Soldier. I really wanted, this is one of the most difficult power levels I wanted to, that I had to kind of judge. Usually I feel like they fall pretty squarely. His energy projection and his effect, things like building the infinite soldiers and things like that, his effect goes all the way to nuclear, even maybe into cosmic because of how strong he is. But as a solo player, he packs all of the Punch of Super Soldier plus, but not enough to necessarily level. I truly believe that a Dark Beast, if properly motivated, could level a city block with his energy projections mixed with his typical strength and whatnot. But there's no proof of that in the comics, so he is at the absolute highest end of Super Soldier that you can get. Yes. So that is Frosty Features Dark Beast. I hope you all enjoyed it. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Whatever. As a reminder, I stream on Twitch starting at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time at the link above. That's where we record Frosty Features, so you can check these out live before they hit up YouTube. Please give me a follow on Twitch, on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. It doesn't cost you anything but a couple of clicks. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for checking this video out. And yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week. And most importantly, y'all, stay cool.